Good morning, student. Today we are going to study about the heat balance sheet. Now, in your previous lecture, we have studied about the Mohs test, how Mohs tests are utilizing for finding out the brake power, indicated power, and frictional powers. We have studied the different methods for finding out the frictional power, indicated power, and brake power. Now, today we are going to study about the heat balance sheet. So now, if you have to study about the how heat balance sheet has to prepare, then prior to that you have to study about the first law analysis of engine cycle. Means how the energy is converging from one form to another form. So for that we have to apply the first law of thermodynamics over the engine. So for that we will take one of the figure so that we can understand easily. So now this figure is illustrating how how we are applying the first law of thermodynamics over the engine cycle. So we know that according to the first law of thermodynamics, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So it is converting from one form to another form. So now here, if you are if now you can see here. So now we are burning fuel over here. Now, as we are burning fuel over here, so what will happen? Heat will liberate inside the cylinder. What will happen? Heat is going to liberate here due to the combustion of fuel inside the cylinder. Now, once the liberation of heat is occurring, so what will happen? So we cannot say that there will be the creation of pressure will occur inside the cylinder. So as the pressure is increasing, so the heat energy is converting into different forms. So heat energy, what is going to do? Heat energy is going to convert into different forms. So now we cannot say that the whatever the total heat liberated inside the cylinder, it will not convert into it will not totally convert into the brake power, which is the useful power. So the sum of the portion of the energy is wasting. So there are the losses. So we can say that whatever the heat energy is created inside the cylinder at this time, that is the indicated power. What is that? That is the indicated power, and we have discussed this previous lectures. So see, the if we are saying that the heat supplied due to the combustion of fuel inside the cylinder, if we are taking that is at the 100%, that is at the 100%. So this 100% is of thermal energy, whatever thermal energy is liberated from the combustion of fuel, will not convert into crankshaft power. So there are the losses are there. What there are the losses are there? So there are energy losses are there. So what are there? So some of the heat energy or thermal energy liberated from the combustion of the fuel, it is converting into, it is taken away by the exhaust gases. It is taken away by the exhaust gases. Some of the heat energy will taken away by the coolant, means whatever the we know that for which the engine is made up of materials, and they are having some withstanding conditions. So for withstanding that temperatures and conditions, so we are cooling the engine. So some of the heat energy will taken by the coolant, and some of the energy will taken lost by the radiation. It will lost by the radiation, and after that remaining energy remaining energy will be apply pressures over the pistons. It will apply over the pistons, and after that some of the heat energy is required to pump, means it is required to open and close the exhaust and inlet valves. So this energy is required. Again, some of the part of the energy available is utilized for driving the auxiliary devices. So there are many auxiliary devices are there that need energy, so such as fuel pump, valve mechanism, ignition systems, and these all are related to the wall timing diagram. And we know that we have studied that how we are utilizing the shaft power for shaft energy for driving these auxiliary devices. So if you are balancing it, now you think that if you have to balance this energy, so and we are balancing, means, so what is the input? what is the input to the engine? We are combusting fuel. What we are doing? We are combusting the fuel, and due to that combustion we are getting the heat energy. So first of all, the input to the engine is the heat supplied. What we are doing? That is the heat supplied. So what we are doing for that? What we are calculating, or we are finding the mass flow rate of the fuel supplied. So what we are doing? We are calculating the mass of the fuel supplied, and we know that, and we know the calorific value of that fuel. So what we know, the calorific value of that fuel, and if you are multiplying mass of the fuel supplied with the calorific value of the fuel, so we can calculate the heat supplied to the engine. We can calculate to the heat supplied to the engine, and that heat supplied is the heat input to the engine, and this heat input we are balancing with the utilization of heat in different form. So what are the essential form outputs are there? So here engine will give the output of brake power. It will give the output of brake power, and that is the useful power, and that power we are measuring with the help of dynamometer. We are using measuring with the help of dynamometer. So normally we are using rope brake dynamometer. And how we are going to calculate? So what we are doing, we are equalizing the brake power with the frictional power, in between the rope and wheel. So and then we are finding out the torque required for that one, and with the help of torque we are finding out the brake power, and this whole process is happening in the rope brake dynamometer, and with the help of dynamometer we are easily and directly finding out the brake power. So that is the useful power, and this is the first utilization of heat energy. So we know that 100% is we are supplying the heat input, and first conversion is happening to the brake power. So first one is the brake power. Then we have discussed that while applying the first law of thermodynamics on the engine, that most of the heat energy is carried away by the exhaust gases. It will be carried away by the exhaust gases. So the whatever the heat transfer is occurring, that will occur at constant pressure. It will occur at constant pressure. So we can use the basic formula for heat transfer at constant pressure process, and with the help of that we can find out the heat carried away by the exhaust gases. We can find out the heat carried away by the exhaust gases, heat supplied and heat carried away by the exhaust gases. So as it is occurring at constant pressure, so we can apply the mCp delta D. M is the mass of the exhaust gases. Cp is the specific heat at constant pressure of the exhaust gases, and then delta D is the temperature difference of temperature of the gas and the room temperature. So with the help of this we can again find out the heat carried away by the exhaust gases. Again, the maximum portion of the heat energy is carried away by the water, cooling water. So again, this process is occurring again at constant pressure. So we can calculate. So if we are measuring the mass flow rate of water throughout the cylinder jacket, and if we are finding out the inlet and outlet temperature of the water, so we can easily find out the heat rejected to the cooling water with the help of mCp delta T. So M is the mass flow rate of the water, Cp is the specific heat of water, and then delta T is the temperature difference across the water inlet temperature and outlet temperature. So these are the three main utilization of expenditure of heat supplied is occurring. That is the heat equivalent to brake power, then heat rejected to the cooling water, and heat carried away by the exhaust gases. So remaining what are the losses are there due to radiation or whatever the energy we are utilizing for driving the auxiliary auxiliary component. So that we are combining, and that we are forming as a unaccounted losses, that we are finding accumulating as the unaccounted heat. So these unaccounted will contain the losses of heat due to friction, leakages and radiation, and again it will contain the energy required to drive the auxiliary devices. So now whatever we have discussed, so on left hand side what we have cumulated the heat input, and on right hand side we have cumulated the heat expenditure. So we are balancing it. What we are doing, we are balancing whatever the heat we are supplying to the engine and what are the different forms of heat we are expending, that we are cumulative in the right hand side, and we are balancing it. So whatever the tabulation is there, that is indicating the heat balance sheet. So we can define what is the heat balance sheet. Heat balance sheet is an account of heat release on combustion of fuel in combustion chamber and utilization in the engine. It is utilization in the engine. So we can, so for drawing the heat balance sheet, different tests are carried out on the engine. So we cannot get the mass flow rate of water directly. We have to use the different component like rotameters. We have to use again for finding out the mass flow rate of the exhaust gases, or we need to find out the mass flow rate of air, and for finding out the mass flow rate of air we are using the orifice meter. For that we have to use the orifice meter. With the help of orifice meter we are finding out the mass flow rate of air. For mass flow rate of fuel we have to use the different methods so that we can find out the mass flow rate. So we can use the strain gauges with the help of some measuring fuel taskbar, and by using the strain gauges we can find out the mass flow rate of the fuel. So these are the heat balance sheets we are doing. So here you can see that so this is the heat supplied. So how we are finding out heat supplied? Mass of fuel into calorific value. So calorific value will be given in different forms. It may give in different units. So some of the units are kilojoule per minute. So it may give in kilojoule per second, kilojoule per hour. So we are finding out the heat balance sheet on minute basis, second basis and hourly basis. So whenever we have to find on the minute basis, so mass of fuel, whatever the mass of fuel, that we have to take in kilogram per second. So if you are taking the mass of fuel in kilogram per second, so whatever the data we will get, that will give in kilojoule per second, means it will give in kilowatt, it will get it in kilowatt. So we are finding out, if you have to find out the heat balance sheet on second basis, so all the mass flow rate of fuel, mass flow rate of water, mass flow rate of exhaust gas, it should be in kilogram per second. It should be in kilogram per second, so that we can get the final unit in kilojoule per second. So if in case if you have to find out the heat balance sheet in minute basis, at that time you have to take the mass flow rate in kilogram per hour. So hourly basis, so you have to take the mass flow rate in per hour. So likewise you have to do, so that you can find out the final energy balancing in that respective unit. So here heat supplied is nothing but the multiplication of mass flow rate into calorific value. So with the help of this we can find out the heat supplied. So left hand side we can complete over here. So now the right hand side you have to give the heat expenditure or heat utilization. So first utilization, what I told, that is the output power or brake power. So we are finding out this brake power with the help of rope brake dynamometer, and in rope brake dynamometer we have already discussed which formula we are using. We are using the 2.T divided by 60, where T is the torque. So torque we will get with the help of rope brake dynamometer, and N is the revolution per minute that we are measuring with the help of tachometer. So we can easily find out the brake power with the help of tachometer and brake power rope brake dynamometer. So here second one is utilization is the heat rejected to the cooling water, so that we can already discuss, we can find out with the help of MW CPW into TW out, temperature of water outlet minus temperature of water inlet. So with the help of this we can find out the heat carried away by the water. Similarly we can find out heat carried away by exhaust gases by applying the same type of formula for constant pressure process. And if we are deducting this serial number 1, 2, 3 from heat supplied, we can find out the unaccounted losses, unaccounted heat. So now likewise we can complete the heat balance sheet. Now once we are completing this calculation of heat balance sheet, you have to represent it on the tabulated format. So here on left hand side we have drawn the heat supplied and their units. So heat supplied by the combustion of fuel is given by the MF into CV, and what is the final. So here in this tabulation which we are representing on the screen is given per minute basis. So this its balance sheet is per minute basis, so it may be in second basis and hourly basis. So once we are calculating this, you are giving the what is the percentage utilization of this. So as the heat supplied is there, so this is the 100% we are giving input to the engine. So now apart from that, we are utilizing this heat energy into production of brake power. So you have already calculated, so whatever the calculated value we are representing before the brake power. Likewise heat carried away by water and heat carried away by exhaust gases, and we are deducting all those things from heat supplied, and we are getting the heat unaccounted, we are getting the heat unaccounted. So we are tabulating it and we are representing in tabular form so that we can prepare the heat balance sheet. So these are the this is the how we are going to calculate heat balance sheet and all. Now we have to understand the energy performance characteristics. Energy performance characteristics. So there are many energy performance characteristics are there. So we will see that one. So these are the engine performance characteristics. So there are many important engine efficiencies are there, and other related engine performance parameters are there. So among that, indicated thermal efficiency, brake thermal efficiency, mechanical efficiency, volumetric efficiency, relative efficiencies, mean effective pressures, we have already discussed it, mean piston speed, specific power output, specific fuel consumption. These are the important parameter you need to understand. So what is the indicated thermal efficiency? So it is related with the heat energy and so thermal energy. So we are giving the input to the engine in the form of thermal energy. We are giving the heat input to the engine in the form of thermal energy. So that thermal energy we are converting into brake power. So prior to brake power we are creating the indicated power. So whatever the pressure acting inside the cylinder or the piston, that is the indicated power, that is the indicated power. So what is the indicated thermal efficiency? So it is relating with input thermal energy and output power. So it is the ratio of output power to the input energy. So output power by input energy. So input energy we are supplying in the form of fuel, heat supplied. So heat supplied is nothing but the MF into CV. So here we can write it like this: MF into CV, calorific value, and output power. So here we are concerning with the indicated power. So this is the indicated power. So both should be in same unit. So both should be in same unit. So we can say that indicated power indicated thermal efficiency is the ratio of energy in the indicated power to the input fuel energy in appropriate unit. So this is the indicated thermal efficiency. So next one is the break thermal efficiency. Again, we are concerning with input thermal energy to the output power. So break thermal efficiency is the ratio of break power to the heat supplied to the engine. So it is given by NBTS. So it is given by thermal efficiency, break thermal efficiency. It is the ratio of break power to the heat supplied by the fuel to the engine. So heat supplied by the fuel to the engine is given by mass of fuel to the calorific of fuel, and both unit should be in same. So it should be in same unit. If it is break power is in kilojoule per hour, then heat supplied should be in kilojoule per hour. So this is the break thermal efficiency. Then mechanical efficiency. So it is the ratio of, so it is concerning with the indicated power and the brake power. Whatever the pressure applied over the piston cylinder in inside the engine cylinder. So and from that how much of power we are getting at the crankshaft. So a ratio of, so we are getting the power at the crankshaft, that is the brake power, and whatever the pressure we are applying on the piston, that is the indicated power, and the ratio of this we are calling as a mechanical efficiency. So that is the ratio of brake power divided by indicated power. Now volumetric efficiency is the breathing capacity of engine. It is the breathing capacity of engine, and volumetric efficiency is related with the actual volume flow rate to the ideal one. And we, while discussing about the working of reciprocating engine, we have understand that the ideal volume the engine can serve, that is equal to the swept volume. So we can say that the volumetric efficiency is the ratio of actual volume flow of air into the intake system at normal temperature pressure to the rate at which volume is displaced by the system. That is nothing but the swept volume. So we can say that volumetric efficiency is defined as the ratio of actual volume flow rate of air into the engine at normal temperature pressure to the swept volume of the engine. So that is will give you the volumetric efficiency. So for that we should know the density of air, volume flow rate of air and mass flow rate of air, so that we can find out the volumetric efficiency. So efficiency ratio is, or relative efficiency is the ratio of thermal efficiency of an actual cycle to that of ideal cycle. So ideal one, for we are for ideal efficiency we are calculating, then we are taking as a air as a medium, and that cycle we are indicating as a air standard cycle, and the efficiency obtained from that cycle is the air standard efficiency. So relative efficiency is the ratio of actual thermal efficiency to the air standard efficiency. So mean effective pressure, that we have already discussed. Mean effective pressure is the average pressure inside the cylinder of an internal combustion engine, and that while discussing about indicator diagram, so that how we have taken the average pressure, that we have discussed already, and with the help of mean effective pressure we can calculate the indicated power that cannot be calculated directly. Then later on, the mean piston speed. So this is important. Means piston speed is given by 2ln. So where L is the stroke and N is the revolution per minute. Then later on, mean specific fuel consumption. So specific fuel consumption is it is inversely proportional to thermal efficiency of the engine. It is inversely proportional to the, so we can say that it is reciprocal of thermal efficiency. So specific fuel consumption, so that we are indicating by SFC, is the ratio of fuel consumption per unit time to the power. If you are related, if the SFC is related with brake power, so we can calling as brake specific fuel consumption, and if it is related with the indicated power, we are calling it as a indicated specific fuel consumption. So these are the things, these parameters is important, and this will be required. You should aware of these all parameters while calculating the problem, while solving the problem. So we can stop over here, and in next lecture we'll say we'll solve the some of the important problem based on testing of IC engine. Thank you.